Hi, welcome to Punchline Talks, the big interview sponsored by Infostar IT Solutions. My name is Mark Owen. I'm the editor and owner of PunchlineGlosser.com. And today, my special guest is Richard East. He's the CEO of RE Recruitment. Welcome, Richard. Welcome to the big interview.
Thank you. Thanks for having me along.
No worries at all. Richard, let's start at the very beginning, please. Can you tell us all about RE Recruitment, the different various companies that are connected to it, please? How big is the company? How many people work for it? What's its turnover? Let's start there.
Okay, so I founded RE Recruitment in 2001. We are a generalist recruitment company. We have a strong perms division working in the IT and tech, manufacturing, commercial sector. And we also have a large temporary employment line working into the warehouse logistics and again, the commercial sector as well. And alongside that, we have Safe Hands Recruitment that was founded in 2011. And that's a niche or specialist healthcare recruitment business. And associated with that, 2 years ago, we launched Safe Hands Healthcare. So we actually take ownership of individuals' packages now and support people with complex needs. Turnover is forecast this year to be circa 50 million. And number of employees, I'm getting 85, 90. And we have 6 branches: Telford, Stoke, Worcester, Hereford, Cheltenham, and Cardiff. Is that 6? I think it's 6.
There's 6. I always like to test people on that.
Yeah, 6-ish. I have a senior team of 5, and yep, all going okay.
Okay, so which is the most profitable side of the business? Because obviously there's different areas go up and down, isn't it? In the recruitment industry itself, quite a competitive business to be in, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we have a number of peaks during the year, so it really depends what season we're in. RE Recruitment is now moving into its peak season. We have one of only 2 poultry visas in the UK. That's a long story, but we're fortunate to have that, and that gives us a very lucrative period between October and December. Safe Hands Healthcare is consistently steady, and it's a good business. There's obviously a big market in the healthcare piece as we're all getting older, and governments are wanting people to be at their homes and whatnot. And whilst it's a new piece, I think the future of the Safe Hands Healthcare is looking very good. There is a real emphasis from government on the healthcare service now, and we've positioned ourselves quite sensibly to take on packages that are sustainable over a long period of time. So that they all do okay. They're all fine. RE tends to have more peaks and troughs. Safe Hands tends to be a bit more of a steady ship, if you like, and the Safe Hands Healthcare piece is new and very exciting.
Okay, well, very interesting. Let's go back to the RE recruitment sort of side. You said the peaks and troughs, different size of the businesses, and about the poultry side in particular. I know that's very unique. Can you just explain a little bit about that, please? Because I know it's about turkeys and that kind of thing, isn't it? And Christmas. How does that work?
Yeah, so the Christmas that we had, where we had the COVID restrictions, you may remember that there was a lot of uproar about people were they weren't going to get turkey for Christmas. There were, in my opinion, a lot more worrying matters to deal with at the time, but that seemed to get into the media, get a lot of attention, and to ensure that we, as a country, got the turkeys to the tables, the government introduced the poultry visa, and there were 2 issued. You have 1,000 visas per company. So ourselves we were fortunate to get one. We were, I would say, pleasantly surprised, but we do have an exceptional compliance team, and we are well known in that poultry sector. So I guess perhaps we shouldn't have been as surprised we were. And that was 3 years ago. So this is the last year of that visa, and we'll wait to see what government are going to do next year. The interesting piece for me is, in actual fact, it's a very valuable USP for us, but we actually bring a lot of people back in from Europe for these peak periods on the resettlement scheme. So it's actually not perhaps as essential to us as we thought it might be at the beginning. So irrespective of what the government decide to do next year, whether they do renew it or not, I think we will still continue to have this significant peak during the Christmas running.
Is this because there just aren't the people to do this type of work? I'm assuming it's the sort of the killing and the gutting and the packaging of turkey and ready for the pot, shall we say, for Christmas Day.
Yeah, it's a lot of the companies that do use us for that particular piece are isolated as well. So a lot of the factories are in isolated areas, and to spike from maybe an average of 50 to 100 staff a day to 300, 400 staff a day is not really achievable without a labour provider like ourselves involved. The visa itself, actually, it's very similar to the horticulture visa, of which I think there are 5 or 6 now, maybe, in that it allows you to go anywhere in the world to recruit. I think one of the reasons we've had success working alongside DEFRA with this visa is that we don't need to. So we've been able to work within our connections within predominantly Romania, and subsequently not having to go out to the bigger pool, the global pool, has meant that there has been less risk of us falling foul of any compliance issues. So we could talk about immigration and the challenges around immigration all day long, but because we tend to have that Romanian connection that we've had for many years, it seems to bode well for the future. So I would be if they do renew the visa, I would be disappointed if we weren't to have the visa renewed for ourselves.
Okay. Well, on the other side of recruitment, RE recruitment again, what other marketplaces are, how's it actually looking at this particular moment? Here we are sitting, you said obviously coming up to December, October, building up for Christmas. So is it mainly retail? Is it warehousing?
Yeah.
Is it logistics? What part of the
So
business?
so our temporary labour force is predominantly warehouse logistics, food production, and then our permanent team, perm recruitment, tend to work in the commercial, IT, tech, manufacturing sectors. I would say at the moment, because we're waiting to see what this 100-day workers' employment rights proposal from the new government is, there's a lot of hesitation around recruitment. So perm recruitment has slowed down. I don't think companies are particularly keen to bring people in at the moment if they don't need to, because they're waiting to see what the rights will be around rights from day one, sickness, etc., etc. And that you might have thought that might lead to an increase in the temp market. And whilst we have seen growth recently, I think that's a seasonal growth rather than a trend in the market. So I think, in fact, companies are actually quite hesitant around the temporary market as well. So I think it's mid-October, is it, that government are going to announce what their plans are? I know there are a lot of discussions taking place now. Once we've got the detail, and it is the detail that matters, I think we can start positioning ourselves as a recruitment business correctly, and the companies that are out there that perhaps are going to be challenged will look at how they position themselves as well. But until then, I think there's a lot of hesitation.
Well, a lot of businesses you're talking to worried about the rise in the minimum wage and obviously workers' rights, the HR sort of side of things. We all know about it. The government, the Labour government is, constantly in the newspapers
Yeah,
looking at that
I,
way.
I think it's I think they are worried. I think we all are. I think we need to understand what they mean by exploitative zero-hour contracts, for example. What is and what isn't exploitative. You need a flexible working market. Countries that have removed the zero-hour contracts, such as New Zealand and Ireland, Germany, France, they have solutions still. So they have casual contracts for services, etc. It's really understanding what that will look like in the UK. I think companies are nervous that their costs will go up significantly if this isn't managed correctly. If they do giving too much to the unions. I think then businesses will be disappointed, because the rhetoric has been that they want to work with business and unions collectively. I don't think that's ever going to be easy, but they do need to show their card a little bit. So yeah, I think companies are nervous, and there will almost certainly be an additional cost to businesses. It's just the devil's in the detail. Let's wait and see what those increases will be. As with regards to minimum wage, I think with all this workers' rights on the horizon, well, pending, so what is it, 4 or 5 weeks away? I know it'll take longer to implement, but obviously the meat will be on the bone to some degree by then. I think the minimum wage increase, which I'm led to believe is going to be circa 6%. I think that's so far in the future, believe it or not, that probably not really given much attention to that yet. But certainly we will be cranking up the rhetoric around that in January, so our customers aren't surprised at the increases that will be levied.
Let's be honest, Richard. If they do that, then companies would just have to put their prices up.
Yeah,
Start putting prices up, then it adds to inflation. Inflation then adds to all the other things, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah. It's challenging.
Okay, let's talk about the other elements of the business itself, the running of the company. So obviously you're the chief executive. You said there are 6 branches. Obviously you've got a management team there. How does that work? Who's in it? How does it work structurally?
Okay, so we recently went through what is called an EOS, which is let me think, an entrepreneurial organizational system or structure. I can't remember. And anyway, whilst I can't remember the title, it's a fantastic process to go through. And it's all about having the right people in the right seats, and making sure that the people that are in the right seats know exactly what their job role is and the expectations are. So our board is made up of 6 of us, 5 or 6, 6 of us, and yeah, I'll get there. And we all have specific roles, and that EOS system is then filtered down across the business so that everybody in the company has the right attributes, the right skill set, the right attitude, fits in with the culture, and has the right job role for them to excel. The senior team, myself, I sit as a visionary type role, so I'm looking for opportunities. I'm heavily ingrained in the culture. A lot networking is a big part of my day to day. But the biggest part really is looking at how the business moves forward and putting ideas into the mix, and trying to find new innovations, and generally keep moving us along and making sure that we're fit for purpose. I then have my business partner, James Gibbs. He's the operational lead, so he will see to the implementation across the group of all processes and structures and policies. And then we have Katie Armstrong and Lucy Dowie, who oversee the Safe Hands recruitment and healthcare piece on a day-to-day operational basis. And Mark Norton does a similar role in RE Recruitment. And we then have Rebecca Lawrence, who takes care of the money. She counts the money if there's any there.
Most important person of all, then.
She's the bossy one, yeah. She's the strict one.
I alluded to it earlier because this is a very, very tight marketplace that you guys work in. You know, it's pretty cutthroat, isn't it? There are lots of recruitment agencies out there. They're all chasing the same. There's only so many people at the end of the day. What makes you very different to the others?
Good question. I don't know. I've always tried to be a recruitment company that is an intelligent recruitment company. So I like the people that work in the business to be intelligent recruiters. I'm not a fan of the 100 sales calls a day, turn it over, don't worry about it, get it in the bucket. If it drops out at the end, not a problem. We'll put another customer in the next week. So I think whilst everybody will probably claim the same, I think our service standards have always been good. We've always strived to be good in that area, and it's difficult when you're ultimately your product is people. It's not always as easy as it perhaps sounds, but I think our service standards have been exceptional. And honesty, we do, we talk to our customers a lot about the challenges. We try to educate them as well. Try to be intelligent around the recruitment piece. Try to be a sounding board for their ideas. So when I look back at all of the major contracts, all the major customers we've had them for many years. We don't tend to lose business. We do tend to pick business up elsewhere. So I guess in some ways trying to be that intelligent recruiter is working.
Why did you choose the other offices? Stoke, Cardiff. I can't remember the other places. I think down
Yeah,
south. Why those geographical areas? Because they're pretty spread out. Normally
yeah.
recruitment agencies a lot of build the old McDonald's model. Build it close to each other so the advertisers connected, quite far apart.
So RE is based in Cheltenham, Worcester, and Hereford. So that is quite a tight region. I'm a
Yeah.
Hereford lad. I'm well known in Hereford, and in the early days, whilst we were based in Cheltenham, some of our biggest pieces of business were in the Herefordshire area. So it made sense to have an office based there. And then once we opened up the office, we simply grew it, and we do. We're well established in Hereford, and Worcester was really on the back of an overflow of business from the Cheltenham area through places like the Vale up into the Droitwich area. So we needed to get a more localized coverage for that as well. So RE is established in those 3 branches, and then Safe Hands is also in all 3 of those branches, but also South Wales, Telford, and Stoke. And that's been on the back that growth has been on the back of customer demand. So we've had customers there who have had a need, and putting together a business plan that has suggested that there is a market there and it's worth pursuing. And I think in a healthcare you can say that's the case in most areas. There's a big demand.
You've been obviously in business a long time, 2001. What would you say was your biggest mistake, Mike? Richard, sorry.
Yeah. Probably in the earlier days, not the early days, but it took a while to get us going. But certainly in 2009, 10, I'd had, what would that be? 2001, 8, 9 years of growth, and perhaps the inexperience, perhaps in me, immaturity, perhaps, I don't know, led me to believe that I would always have growth. And in 2010, we had a pretty significant crash as a result to a change in legislation, which left us with a cash flow problem it probably took me 18 months to correct that. So I guess the big lesson there, which I would always say to people, is if you're going to expand, make sure it's funded well.
I mean, would you say your biggest lesson of all? The actual expansion of it as well, and the money side of things.
Yeah, we were expanding, we were growing, we were expanding. We'd invested into Safe Hands recruitment. That was exciting, but I think perhaps the excitement, we got carried away a little bit with that, and we planned on investing in the growth ourselves with our own money. And when we found that we weren't profitable for a few months, the money was drying up, and the investment had to be tempered. But some of the investment had already taken place. So yeah, we ran into a cash flow challenge in 2010. So yeah, I certainly much more cautious about how we fund our growth since.
Let's talk very quickly about safe hands sort of recruitment, because obviously we're in an older population. The government desperately trying to do something on that side of things as well, getting people out of hospital. Did you see just the gap in the market? People weren't doing it properly, and you just thought, hey, let's go for it.
Yeah, it's yeah. Having Safe Hands recruitment, we supply a lot of companies that we supply a lot of care companies ourselves, and I could see that there was, well, to be fair, Katie could see that there was an opportunity for us to actually do that ourselves. One of the USPs would be that we have a recruitment company sitting in the background, so if we ever have any staffing issues, they can be resolved very quickly, and that's clearly an attractive proposition to anybody that has a family member or friend or whatever in that care piece. and it was particularly attractive to the relevant local authorities who looked to put you on their frameworks. So that was the appeal, and the fact that if you're going to go into a market that is going to grow further, and it's a pretty big market now, then the healthcare piece in people's homes is a place to go, because clearly the NHS is creaking. There aren't enough beds, and they need people to be cared for in their own homes. So it is a big market. It's taken us time to, we've had to learn, we've had to educate ourselves. We've recruited some very good people to help us run the business, but we're learning every day, and it is very, very exciting. But yeah, there was an opportunity for us to not only be able to take the packages on ourselves, but also with the recruitment company in the background to service them with I guess more confidence than perhaps a healthcare business without that backing.
What would you say the biggest lesson you've learned from that then as well? Obviously, moving into this different sector and this particular sector.
For me, and I'm not involved in the operational day to day, but for me, I think it's making sure that you recognise that the mindset of a recruiter is very different to the mindset of somebody that's working in that healthcare piece, and you've got to approach that healthcare business and the people, that the service users, in a very different way to perhaps you would approach an end user in the recruitment piece. Very, very different, and much more.
Is that a bit more because of the caring side of things, Richard?
Well,
It can't be just about.
you're
Sorry.
dealing with people's lives, aren't you? You're not really. They do want you. They do need you, because clearly their children or family member have a complex need, but they're also going through. For me, they're going through some sort of almost a grieving process that will probably be there forever, and so they're not your classic customer, if you like. They're somebody that there's a compassion required, and a real understanding, and to get yourself away from the mindset of we provide staff and we make money, and that's how we do that. It's more about almost not thinking about the business piece, really, the financials. Once that's done, that's done. You don't negotiate rates, or that's nailed on by the local authorities. It really is very much about the service, and actually making sure you're caring for people's lives here. If you have a problem with one of your recruitment customers, it's not ideal, but you can put it right and you have conversation corrected. But if you have a problem over here, people are at risk, and that's not something you want to be associated with. You want to make sure people are getting the very best care. So it is a much you have to approach that business differently.
Okay, well, no, very, very interesting. Going back to let's start at the very beginning, actually, because you said that you were from Hereford. Whereabouts in Hereford, and sort of where did you go to school and your sort of early days? Because you very kindly sent me a picture, and I'm going to bring this up in a second. So
Yeah.
where I'm going to share my screen here.
Oh,
So
thanks.
there's you. How old are you there, Richard?
I don't know, but probably look about three maybe. So you asked me for a
Yeah.
couple of photographs. I couldn't find many, so I thought I did dig this one out. That was so I was born in a terrace street in Hereford, Green Street. It wasn't cobbled. It wasn't a cobbled street, but it would have been some years earlier, I'd have thought. It was a classic working class upbringing. Dad was a fireman, mum was a nursery worker, and it was great. I loved it. And when I looked at that photo, I sent that over to you. I just thought it's great, because it sort of sums up what my childhood was about, really. I always had a ball at my foot or in my hand, and you just used to run around, didn't you? It was great. And I do look at children now and think, well, you're missing out on some of the great things we did as kids. You've got your phones scrolling and all that, and they just seem to miss out on the stuff we did, and that reflects it, really. There was always a ball at hand somewhere. You're running around. You go to the playground at school, and you'd run from one end to the other, and you'd only stop when you hit the fence. And it was just a good childhood, very good childhood.
It's funny, isn't it? These are the days that we used to play kick the can in the middle of the road, or what was it? Kirby. You must have played
Yeah,
Kirby as well when we were
yeah,
kids. I
yeah.
love Kirby.
Hopscotch, and yeah, it was all. we were very fortunate to grow up in a period where the world was relatively stable, and we didn't have all this tech that seems to be creating no end of problems nowadays. But yeah,
And
it was good fun.
the world wasn't so busy, was it? Anyway, it's a lovely picture. So
Yeah.
there's two balls there with you. So where did you go from there then? Did you go to sort of school, leave school at 16, or did you go to
Yeah.
do A levels? Did you go to uni?
I left school at 16. I did my A levels at night school, and I worked in a builder's yard during the day, and then I went travelling, which was a big eye opener for me, really. And then I came back to the UK, went to university, worked in London, and had a slightly disjointed career, really, until I went into my first business, which was a cafe type business in Cheltenham.
What was it called?
Woodies in the Montpellier courtyard.
Okay. How long did you run Woody's for?
3 years. I went bust.
Why did you go bust?
Uh, um, well, again, I, it took me 2 of these experiences to learn my lesson. Although I didn't go bust a second time, I expanded and opened up a delicatessen next door, and didn't really give enough thought to the funding. so I ran out of
There's, there's
cash.
there's a theme there, mate.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. To be fair, I was. I mean, it was a terribly painful experience, but the receiver was fantastic, and he said, "Well, look, you might as well take this food and stuff home because you don't want it to perish." So for the first 3 months of my bankruptcy, I actually ate and drank like a king. But but yeah, it was a painful experience, a lesson learned. But yeah.
Well, what was the biggest lesson learned from going bankrupt?
um,
Don't eat
make
all the
sure.
cheese.
Biggest lesson of going bankrupt. Well, I guess it's still, to be fair, what was that? 97. So was that a long time ago? 1997. I guess that lesson still sits with me now, and it's always, always don't take things for granted. You're only as good as your last invoice. So
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, I totally agree with you there. And look, let's go to this other picture here because this is, I think, we're moving to 1988 now.
yep.
So, which one are you, first of all? Are you the
I'm
chap, the
I'm I'm
good
the one in
one?
the white. Yeah, I'm the one who thinks he's Crocodile Dundee. So,
Yeah, looking rather slick there and swish and all
yeah,
the
yeah,
rest of it.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
so, so Mount Olympus, what are you doing with your mates there then? Just a bit of a tour.
So that was a great time because I kind of just I was fumbling around a bit, bumbling around, not really knowing what to do with life, and I decided to take the summer off, and I travelled through France, Italy. This is all on the trains and whatever, hitchhiking, and then be careful, and then and then we went around the Greek islands. These guys to the left, as you look at 2 American guys I met, the guy behind's Andy Steele, an old pal of mine, and we just travelled together. We went up through the mainland, up through to Thessaloniki, and then we climbed Mount Olympus, which was we thought it'd be maybe like maybe a version of the Malvern Hills. It's actually twice the height and summit of Ben Nevis, so we were caught out a little bit, but we enjoyed it. It was a great experience. And then we travelled off up through the old Yugoslavia and headed up. It was around about the time that the Berlin Wall was coming down, and or the talk had started to go in that direction. It was quite an exciting time to be in Europe. And for me, the reason I sent you that photo, A, was because it was one of the only ones I could find, but B, it was a period when I really the world really opened up to me. I hadn't really been abroad before that, and it was just a great experience, and it whet my appetite for further experiences, further excitement, and to
I
perhaps
just want to
start
add, you,
backing myself.
you look like one of the guys from Duran Duran. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, yeah.
with a haircut there. So how do you then get to? Because we're kind of running out of time already, sadly. But how did you get from there to actually start RE Recruitment? How old were you when you started that company? So you'd gone bust running the cafe. What's the next stage? How did you get from that to
So
running
I so
RE?
I went into recruitment by default. Was trained by Reed Employment, who were exceptional. Worked for a local firm, and then decided to have a go on my own. But come back to it. Had no funds, so I went to I don't know if you remember the chap. He's passed away sadly now, but Mark Morris used to have the flower store in Cheltenham, old pal of
Yeah.
mine. He lent me 700 quid so I could pay my first week's wages. I managed to get a few quid together for a minibus, and decided to give it a go. And really, I enjoy the industry. I enjoyed the sector, always have. I enjoy, it's fast paced, it's busy. I like that, and I just went and gave it a go. And I never really had expectations beyond making a decent enough living out of it, and that would be okay. I didn't really want to work for somebody else. I wasn't a very good employee. I was always better with my own devices, although perhaps the cafe proves otherwise. But yeah, so I just went for it, and lo and behold, seemed to be quite good at it, and things went on from there. Really,
Did you open Hereford first or Cheltenham?
Cheltenham first.
Right. Okay. And where you're based now?
We're down in the head offices in Kingsditch.
Right. Okay. Well, again, we're running short of time, so I've got to ask you a couple of questions first of all.
Yep.
So, main question is not the main question. If I went in your car and turned on the ignition, what would you have in play in your CD player? If you got a CD player or iPhone or whatever,
Yeah.
what do you listen to, Mike? Although I keep calling you Mike. I'm really sorry. I
Yeah.
don't know where bloody
Who is
Mike came
Mike?
from. It's because I'm looking at you, Mike. Richard,
There's a Mike.
what do
There's
you
a Mike
listen
who
to?
runs a local pub. Normally, easy. Heart 80s. Radio
Okay.
2. Radio 2. If I'm feeling a little bit mindful, I might put a bit of classical.
Okay. And is there a particular, band or track or group that you listen to, like you like, apart from Duran Duran?
Uh, no. I was pretty bored. I liked a lot of the music back then.
Okay. And again, what's the latest book you've read? What's the last book that you read?
So Max, I have been reading the is it Russell or Richard Osman, the murder ones, the
Oh
grown up.
yes, the
What's
Richard
the word I'm looking for?
Osborne,
Richard Osman.
the
Osman.
Oldman, the third,
Yeah,
the Murder Mystery
yeah.
Club.
So I've read all of those. I'm just waiting for the fourth one to arrive. I've ordered it. So I quite like grown up Enid Blytons. Nothing too
It's funny.
testy.
I've read those books as well, Richard. I just read
Yeah.
one on holiday actually. The Bullet That Missed Me. Fantastic.
There is
Okay,
another one as well.
unfortunately,
But yeah.
no, I've got that upstairs. I haven't got there yet. The fourth one, and he's got a new book coming out as well. Okay, Richard, what's your top 3 business tips, please?
Well, one's going to be funding, isn't it?
I should hope so.
so I guess if you're going to start a new business, for me, it's you have a very, very thorough business plan and make sure it's detailed. Analyze your competitors, analyze that there is a demand for your product and your service. Make sure you really have got a detailed business plan that allows for a bit of flex as well, but make sure you really have pinned that down before you do it. Point 2, if you're going to get to a point where you employ people, it might be from day one, it might be something you grow into, but employ the very best people you can and don't employ people that mirror you. Employ people that are different to you, better than you, offer something different to what you offer. And that has, if there was one thing I could pin down, if success is the right word, then my success, that would be surrounding myself with people that are better than me, which isn't hard, but I've done it anyway. And then the other one for me, and I guess again this reflects on lessons learned, fortress balance sheet. Just keep the money in your bank. If you by all means, if you want a nice holiday, or when you're making money, don't get carried away. Don't start thinking you're part of an elite group of business people in the local area. Keep your purse shut. Keep it tight. Keep growing that balance sheet so that when you come up against the inevitable challenges that you will face from time to time when the economy crashes or the market changes or whatever, you've got sufficient funds behind you to ride the waves. That's
Okay.
it, really.
Richard, thanks ever so much for joining Punchline Talks. Like to absolutely fascinating. Shame we've run out of time. If you like the show, please like, share, and subscribe. And thank you ever so much to our sponsors, Infostar IT Solutions. And remember, it's all in the punchline. Thank you. Bye, Richard.
Thanks,
Bye,
Mark.
everybody.
Cheers, pal.